Hello and welcome back. So now that we have our very first set of isometric figures, we're going to use the cube to do the grid. Okay, so first of all, we are going to take all of these objects, select them, and we are going to click and drag them outside the artboard. Now we are going to take the cube and we are going to group it in case it's not grouped yet. And we are going to move it right about here to the center of the artboard. And we are going to zoom in a little. We can do this by holding Alt and using the mouse wheel. Okay, now we are going to resize it a bit. And we are going to take our direct selection tool right here. And by using the direct selection tool, we are going to click in any of these lines that you see here. Okay, so this is now selected, so all we have to do is hit Ctrl C and Ctrl B to copy and paste. So now as you can see, we have a copy of that line. So now we are going to hold Shift to constrain proportions, and we are going to enlarge this line by using the bounding box. We are going to make it about as big as the artboard. And now we'll bring the stroke down a bit because it has scaled. Let's center just 1 point for the stroke. Okay, so now we are going to take this line and we are going to snap it about here where the cube is. Okay, great. Now we are going to take this line again, and while holding Alt, we'll click and drag to create a copy, and we're going to snap it to the bottom of the cube. So now that we have that copy created, we are going to select that line and we are going to hit Ctrl D as in duplicate several times to repeat that copy. As you can see, this will create several copies with the exact same distance. Now we are going to select them all together by clicking and dragging, and we're going to Object and Group. And now, while holding Alt on the keyboard, we're going to click and drag. This will create a copy, and with that copy we're going to right click, transform, and reflect. This will reflect the lines to face the opposite direction, and now we have created some sort of basic grid. So as you can see, we took the height of the cube as a reference for this grid. So now we are done with that cube, so we can take it and drag it outside the artboard. And now we are going to take these elements and we are going to lock them by going to Object, Lock, Selection. So this is optional, but it will allow you to work without worrying of selecting those objects by mistake. Okay, with that done, we are going to select everything here, this kind of grid that we created, this preliminary grid, and we are going to Window, Pathfinder, and once we bring that window up, we're going to select the option called Divide. So the result will look something like this. So we want to bring the stroke up a bit at one point, and we're going to resize it a bit. So after we use the divide option, it will automatically group all these elements together. So we're going to double click on it to enter isolation mode. Okay, so now that we are on isolation mode, the basic idea will be to complete this grid so it looks like a perfect diamond shape. As you can see, it's kind of incomplete at the moment. So we are going to take any cell of this grid and we're going to use the trick of holding Alt and clicking and dragging to copy, and we're going to complete the grid. As you can see, I'm doing that right now, and actually at this moment I'm going to delete some of the cells because it will be easier to do that. There we go, and now I'm going to complete this part that's missing. This is actually very easy to do with the smart guides activated because it will allow you to snap all the objects together. So now that this is complete, we're going to double click to exit isolation mode. So the cool thing about this is that you can decide the size of your grid of each cell. You can use it big as it is now, or you can resize it down and use a grid that's very detailed, that every cell is very tiny. So as you can see on the video, what I'm doing right now is to take the grid, and since this is a diamond shape and every angle is the same, we can copy and paste several iterations of the grid to create a bigger grid. So you can repeat this process over and over again and end up with a grid that's big, but it has very tiny cells. If you want to go very detailed, that will be very useful. So basically, it's up to you. I like to have a grid that's not too big, but not too small either. So I will use basically this size, and I'm going to take all these parts and group them together. Okay, so there we go. I have my grid now, and I want to make sure that this grid covers most of the artboard or all of it. As you will see later on, it's not completely necessary or obligatory to have a grid in order to work with isometric view, but it's a very helpful tool, and I advise you to at least give it a try, especially if you're just starting out with this and this is your first isometric illustration. The grid will be very helpful to you. A cool thing that you can do with this grid is to even print it out. You can fill an entire canvas with a grid and print it out, and then you can sketch on paper using this. Okay, back to the file. We're going to organize it by creating a new layer, and we're going to move the grid there. We're going to call the layer grid, and now we are going to move the grid to this new layer. Let me show you how. See this little square that we have here? We're going to click and drag it to this other layer called grid. And now I'll rearrange those layers. I can click and drag on the layer itself and move it down to the bottom. Now I'll hit horizontal align here. Be sure that it says aligned to artboard here. Okay. And finally, I am going to lock this. So a grid can be very invasive and very annoying if you don't lock it, because you'll be accidentally clicking on it all the time. So I strongly advise you to do this, to just lock this layer. So speaking of locking, we are going to unlock the objects that we previously locked by going to Object and Unlock All. We want to have this unlocked because we are definitely going to use these objects to create the illustration. Okay, so we have everything ready to start finally doing the illustration. So see you on the next step.